You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is the plan for Syracuse football? If you are watching this on YouTube, you can probably see to the right of the screen on today's show exactly what it is. Fran Brown wants to build from within. And he told us this. He told us this back in November. That's what he wants to do. He warned us that the transfer class in 2025 for this upcoming season will not be as deep as it was in 2024, in part because they got a boatload of high school commits in the class of 2024, which turns out is an upper half class in the ACC with high school recruiting. So it's clear that he wants to build from within. And this commitment shows that his plan seems to be working. He wants to build from within. Jarius Rodgers is one of the highest rated recruits in the Fran Brown era. The only player per 24/7 Sports that is rated higher than Jarius Rodgers is Jamie Tremble, the tight end in the class of 2024. He was 168 in the country. Jarius Rodgers right now at this very moment is 175. So it is a 7-spot difference between the two players. Now, here's the thing about Jamie Tremble. Jamie Tremble actually verbally committed to Syracuse when Dino Babers was still the head coach of the Orange, but you certainly have to credit Fran Brown for keeping that commitment, for getting him to ultimately sign. But the way I also look at it is this. Jarius Rodgers is the best start-to-finish recruit that Fran Brown has landed so far because they started recruiting him when Fran Brown was the head coach, and ultimately he decided to verbally commit, whereas with Jamie Tremble, it started with Dino Babers and ended with Fran Brown. Thank goodness, by the way, they kept Jamie Tremble because guess what? He's the replacement for Oronde Gadsden. He's got big shoes to fill, but he's got a big pedigree. He certainly can do it. And by the way, for those that are curious about Jamie Tremble, he's got exactly the same profile as Oronde Gadsden. Not saying he's going to turn out like Oronde Gadsden, but he's got a very, very similar profile. As far as some of the other big-time recruits that Fran Brown has gotten, and to show that his vision seems to be working, in 2024, they also got KingJoseph Edwards, a 4-star edge rusher as well. They did get Marcellus Barnes, who was a 4-star, but ultimately he transferred to SMU. Emmanuel Ross, a 4-star wide receiver. Those guys were not higher rated than Jarius Rodgers, but they are still big-time commits. I think Yassine Willis, Jaydin Brown also were 4-stars and at least 1 or 2 recruiting services. The bottom line is that Fran Brown's vision seems to be working. It worked in 2024. In 2025, he gets Demetres Samuel, another Florida kid, by the way. Another Florida kid. He's a 4-star, and he's 209 overall nationally on the 24/7 Sports composite ranking. So he's close to Jarius Rodgers, but not quite. But these are building block type players, with the exception of Marcellus Barnes, who transferred. You're getting KingJoseph Edwards. You're getting Emmanuel Ross. You're getting Demetres Samuel. Now you get Jarius Rodgers. Javion Cooper in the class of 2026, by the way, an offensive lineman, is also a 4-star recruit, a 4-star composite recruit on 24/7 Sports. It's a cliche what I'm about to tell you. And that is that ultimately time is going to tell who will pan out and who will not pan out. But what's clear is that since Fran Brown has taken over, Syracuse football recruiting has gone way up. His vision of building from within seems to be working because he's getting better talent to commit to Syracuse than in the past, than before Fran Brown was here. And I've documented it before, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Before he took over, Syracuse football and high school recruiting, they were among the worst teams in the ACC in recruiting. Routinely. It was basically every year. They were pretty much always bottom 5. A couple of years, I believe, they finished dead last. And some years they would finish second last. They were not a good recruiting team prior to Fran Brown. Then Fran Brown comes over to Syracuse. Obviously, he had that 10-win season in 2024, which is big. But off the field, when it comes to recruiting and getting more talent, he's doing exactly that because now in both years, he's been middle of the pack in the ACC when it comes to recruiting. So already they have taken the jump from among the worst to the middle tier